Good morning, everyone. For today's devotion, I just want to talk about Jonathan from 1 Samuel chapter 13 and 14. This was the time when Saul had just become king over Israel, and there was a lot of problems with the Philistines. So the Philistines were trying to attack Israel and were trying to set up various outposts all around the places and sending raiding camps to really harass the people of Israel. So Jonathan, we hear about Jonathan. What he did was he went to one of the outposts at Geba and he attacked it single-handedly. So when Saul heard about this, he informed all Israelites to come together to be ready for war. But we also read in this chapter that the Philistines ensured that there was no blacksmith in the land of Israel, so that the Israelites could not make any weapons of any sort. So for anything that they needed to do concerning any armor or any thing that they need to do for plowing, they had to go to the Philistine camp or the Philistine area and to get it done at a cost. So when the time of battle came, there actually was no sword or spear with any of the army men of Israel, and just Saul and Jonathan had a sword and a spear. So in such a way, the Philistines were able to ensure that their enemy, which is Israel, was not able to attack them at any cost. So in this frame of mind, when people gathered because King Saul had called them, they were so afraid because they don't have any weapons and the Philistines are all having chariots and weapons of all sorts. So what they started to do was they were trying to hide in different places, trying to hide in any nook and corner, in pits. It was such a shame for Israel that their army doesn't have any weapons at all, and they were trying to hide in pits, and they were really quaking with fear. Then we look at Jonathan. So what Jonathan does when the entire army is so afraid, he tells his armor bearer, "Come, let's go to the other side, far away from these army people, and let's attack the Philistines." So they go into a place which is not going to be on their best interest. So they are standing in the plain and the Philistines are on the other side, and to reach them you have to climb through a cliff. So he makes things even difficult for him, and he tells his armor bearer that we will go there, and if they tell us, you come up and to meet us, and then we will attack you, that means it's a sign that God is going to help us. But if they say that you stay there, we will come down to you, that means the Lord is not on our side. So he takes a very bold step of faith that our God can fight our battles for us without any need to have a large number of army men. So he goes, and just as he has shown faith in God, the Philistine says that you come up to us and we'll teach you a lesson. And he immediately tells his armor bearer, "Come, let's go up. The Lord is going to give us victory over these Philistines." And just two people, maybe they just have a sword and a spear. They climb the hill, and when the Philistines come attacking one by one, maybe Jonathan is just pushing one of them down the first attempt, and the armor bearer ensures that the other person is killed. So that way they go around and start attacking this army camp. Once they do this, once they trust that God is going to give them a victory, God sends a panic in the Philistines army, and they are starting to attack each other, and there's so much of fear because the ground is shaking. So by the time Saul realizes, okay, what's happening, he sees the Philistines just escaping everywhere, and then they go ahead and attack them and they win the battle. So the Lord saves Israel from an impossible scenario where only Saul and Jonathan had a sword and a spear and no one else in the army had anything. So he makes the enemies attack each other and get defeated without any intervention of the Israelites at the start. So from this passage, what we can really learn and what we can apply in our lives is that we will have battles where the enemy tries to come at us with from all angles and from all situations. The enemy can outnumber us in every situation. But in this time, rather than quaking with fear like how the other soldiers of Saul did, we can be like Jonathan, where we can just claim God's promises and God's assurance that He is going to be with us, and take the attack into the enemy's camp. By doing so, when we trust in God and when we take the first step, God is going to create a panic amongst our enemies. Something that they may think that they have all the weapons and we have nothing. But with us, we always have God, and God is everything to us. So when you come across any battles in your life, take the first step of faith. And we have two swords with us, which is praise and prayer. We are familiar with prayer, that prayer is a weapon that we can use against the forces of the evil one. But praise is also an equally a strong weapon, because when we praise, we're thanking God in advance for the deliverance that He's going to give to us. So when we trust our faith in God that I have the situation with me which is more than what I can bear, but I'm trusting in you and I will praise in your name that you will give me the deliverance. So when we demonstrate that faith through prayer and through praise, which also happens to be our group's name, Praise and Prayer, God is going to deliver us from all our enemies. So go ahead and claim these promises that God is going to deliver you from all battles, and take a step of faith and you will be victorious. Praise God. Have a nice day.